Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to our live chat show on Being Social, our YouTube channel, CSMS India. And as I always say, I try and bring inspirational personalities of any age to my chats so that they can inspire you. If you have any questions or any clarifications or anything you want to add on to the conversation, most welcome. Just type your comments on the chat and we will try and answer those. Another thing we have done from this program is now we have cut down the time from 60 minutes to 30 minutes now because there were some people felt that 60 minutes are too long in the modern scenario. And so we said, yes, let's try out for 30 minutes. This evening, my evening for me and morning for her, this evening, my esteemed guest is Arushi Awasthi. Arushi is a brand strategist and communications leader. She has been working in different enterprises and startups and both as a job as well as providing consulting and at different geographical locations. She's, right now, she is joining us from Los Angeles, California, and it's 7 a.m. in the morning for her. So, Arushi, good morning to you and welcome to our chat show. Please tell us something about yourself, your experiences, your expertise, and activities.
Good morning, and thank you for having me over. Uh, so, what I currently do is I head brand and communications for this company called Innovator, which is a leading healthcare AI company based out of San Francisco. What we're trying to do, as we say, is solve the healthcare's hardest problems, which is data fragmentation, data aggregation, and using AI and automation to ensure that um, healthcare is truly frictionless, if I may say. Um, what I've spent is doing the last several years is building brands across D2C, B2B, and B2C sectors in startups and enterprises across various geographies. My typical job is how do I make complex things feel more human? How do I make data feel emotional, especially in a B2B space? And how do I make brands feel alive? uh, Beyond what I currently do and my core expertise, I've also consulted multiple C suite leaders in brand strategy and personal brand building. What I sometimes conduct is leadership sessions and communication and narrative building. Um, at the end of everything, I truly believe that brands are just not logos; they are decisions, and that's what I aim to do through my role.
Thank you, Arushi, and some of the viewers may be laymen or laywomen in this area. So, for their benefit, what exactly is brand strategy and brand management?
That's a very interesting question. So, brand strategy is deciding what you want to be remembered for. And when you talk about brand management, it is making sure that the world actually remembers you for that. So, if I have to break it down further, I would say that brand strategy answers questions like who are you? Why do you exist? What do you stand for? And what do you not stand for? And in brand management, you take one step ahead where you start managing brands with consistency, experience, trust building, and reputation management. Um, I often tell people that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And that's what a brand is. And brand strategy is the strategic part of it, and brand management is the management aspect of it.
Okay, someone told me that the branding should appear in your reflexes so that if somebody says toothpaste, you should be getting a picture in your brain of Colgate,
That's true.
yeah,
That's true.
something like that. So you promote in such a way that it is resident in your reflex memories.
That's true.
Uh,
That's what great ads are about, you know. If you go back and you, I think in India when you've grown up and when you think of Ujala and suddenly you start singing the jingle behind that song, and it was very interesting how ads became a part of your life at some point.
yeah, that is something I wanted to ask you further. How branding is linked with marketing and advertisement for business?
Very interesting again because I would actually answer this question as I answer in workshops because there's a question that I keep getting asked. So I say brand is a soul, marketing is the vehicle, and advertising is the amplifier. There's another parallel that I sometimes draw, which I say that marketing drives attention, brand drives preference, and advertising drives recall. And that's when I mean, that's how I told you the song saying when you think of Ujala, you start saying that Aya Naya Ujala. So what marketing does, it brings people to the door. Branding makes them stay, and advertising makes them keep thinking of it again and again.
तो ये मेरा कहने का मतलब ये था कि डू दे वॉक टुगेदर, साथ साथ चलते हैं, और दे मूव इन टेंडम, और दे हैव certain sequence to follow
No, I think
among those.
it is they need to walk in tandem, but at the core of everything lies your brand. The marketing is done to get the lead gen inbound numbers, to get the sales done, and advertising is done to make your brand be remembered, so they cannot be very separate from each other. Of course, advertising starts coming with an expense, marketing comes with an expense, brand comes from trust. So they have to be together, they have to be synchronized, they have to work like a machine, like a cog in the wheel together. Otherwise it'll die without each other. All three are very essential components of a business.
Well, we have a few audience here. They are welcoming you, and one of them has been a professor of management and economics. He's asking, what does data help in brand strategy? How
Da-
does?
Data is very critical in any part of any marketing or branding decision because it helps me identify what is working for me and what is not working for me. I think if I cannot measure anything in what I do, it's almost a waste because I'm putting an expense to it, I'm putting human time to it, I'm putting human resources to it. So if I if and there's a very interesting thing that you say is data backed decision making when you do anything in any industry, and I think that's essential in branding too. The only difference is in marketing, data and solutions are very immediate. You know, you see data and you do something and you see whether you applied it, whether it worked or not. But in building a brand, it takes, you have to have a long term vision to map the data with what really happened, because brand building is not a short term exercise, it's a really long term exercise. That's something a lot of people forget. A lot of leaders forget, thinking that I've invested in my brand today, I need to see the return tomorrow. But I would say you have to wait 6 months, you have to take 1 year, you have to wait for 2 years in some brand cases. But data is extremely essential to see if your decision was right or wrong, and to map it against what you did versus what you achieved, because you always set some goals when you start defining anything. And did you achieve those goals? And your data is going to help you identify that very easily.
I thought data is fundamental even for your while you develop your strategy.
Yes.
You have to go with the historical data, the market data, and your hypothesis, and your analytical part
Yes,
also.
data is extremely essential. Now there are two sides to it. When you build a brand, either it's an absolutely new brand in the industry, or it is a brand that has somebody else has done but was not successful, or it is an exceptionally successful brand in the industry. When it comes to an exceptionally successful brand, it's very important that yes, you see the historical data. When it's a brand that did well, failed, it's again important to see the data. What went right for them, what went wrong for them. For a brand that's fairly new, you build the data as you build the brand, and then you start mapping yourself against your own data, because you don't have any historical data of that particular brand. Because but you may have something remotely competitive, or a part of it that's competitive, so you use that to map. But again, it's very different from mapping in marketing data, because marketing, especially when you do lead generation and you run ad sales, etc., that ROI is very immediate, like I said, with data, and you can always understand what went right, what went wrong. In brand building, there's never a wrong. I mean, it's either learnings, or it is that you did something right.
Um, we understand the importance of brand strategy and brand management now after talking to you initially. Um, Having been in the government myself, I thought the governments also must work on their brand image, brand building, brand strategy, and management. What are your thoughts for this kind of what you do in the private sector? Do you think there is a case
Mhm.
for the public sector also to get a leaf out of your books?
I think it's a very underrated topic, because public sector branding is essentially not about selling. It's about trust building. It's about legitimacy, it's about trust. It's public sector, I feel, is not about commercial gain, so to say. So government initiatives tend to succeed, in my opinion, when the citizens or people and would understand the why behind it. So I don't think the government needs to do anything to build visibility. What they need to do from a brand point of view is build credibility. Uh, if I have to think about what a strong public sector brand should do, I would think about three key things. It should build confidence of the people, it should improve the acceptance of policies, and it should drive massive behavioral change. Um, so I feel that branding in public sector is almost like a civic responsibility. When citizens or people start to trust the system, it's but natural that the governance will become smoother, and people will start to trust in the brand, or in anything that the government is saying.
Arushi, let me give you a break now by asking you the question: what are your hobbies and special interest areas?
I love traveling especially across cultures, across countries. I think it's very essential, because it gives me a lot of perspective. It gives me helps me in what I do also, but it's kind of a breather for me from my monotonous, or not so monotonous life. Uh, Music is another very big part of my life. It keeps me very emotionally balanced. It especially in high pressure environments, I think I put my earphones on and I'm lost. The other thing that I really am interested in is storytelling, trying to understand media psychology, how perception is important, and this is again, this also somehow links to what I do professionally, but I am very interested in it in my personal capacity too. Um, and I observe people a lot. Yeah, I try to understand human behavior, and I think the last thing that I truly enjoy is dogs of all form. I have a pet, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So I think my real investment is in animals, especially dogs.
Great. So, welcome back after the break. What What are the key differences of management practices between enterprises and the startups? Because you work for both.
Interesting. So, startups run on conviction, and enterprises, I think, run on, and I'm sure, run on calibration. So, when you're working in a startup, what you tend to see, especially with founders that you work in, is speed is higher than perfection. Risk is higher than a process, and narrative is greater than history. And so, naturally, when you work in a startup, what you can expect is faster decisions, high ambiguity, founder driven narrative, but the speed and the intent is really fast. When you work with enterprises, you see that they believe in scalability over experimentation, they believe in processes over just random instincts, and they believe in legacy because they worked really hard to build that. So what you tend to expect when working with an enterprise is they're more structured, they're hierarchical driven, they assess their risks better, and the brand protection is at the key. So while startups may ask you questions like, what if we do this, what if we do that, and because they're running on that ambiguous workspace, an enterprise may always ask you why this and why that, because they're really more sorted. So both have their strengths, I feel, and the best leaders I have seen today actually use, borrow the best of both worlds and they put it together. So they may have, they, m- they may have strategy and speed together, which is a really high risk move, but I think that's what most leaders today work on.
Okay, so what have been your key learnings so far, both individually and professionally?
So, personally, I think my top learning over so many years has been that not every reaction deserves a response. You just have to sit calm and things will just sort out for themselves. Sometimes you don't have to respond to things at all. People will get the hint. The second key thing that I have learned is um, your self worth should not fluctuate with external validation. Uh, it's your self worth. You've built it. Don't let people change it or don't let people question it. Professionally, I think couple of things. In fact, reputation always compounds. Um, Clarity is something that will 100% beat volume, and this is essential. I say it because today everybody's moving in such a fast paced world. Everybody wants to move things very fast, do things in a lot of volume, but clarity in most people or most organizations is negligible about what they are really building or at what they're doing. So I feel that clarity would 100% always beats volume. The third very critical thing is, and I again feel it's something that's missing in today's day and age, is relationships, and relationships will always matter more than transactions. You can get your jobs done from people if you have a good relationship with them, rather than you just having a transactional relationship with them. uh, the fourth thing, I don't know, is the fourth or the fifth. I think speed is really good, but the alignment is always better. So if you're aligned, you can move as fast with much more clarity again. And the last thing, and I think I said this before, would be reputation is something that you build really slowly, but you lose very quickly. And this one also applies to people's personal lives. I feel that you can build your reputation really. I mean, when you build your reputation, you feel that it's taking a hell lot of time, but it can be lost in a second. So be very careful about it in both your professional space and your personal space.
I, with my very little research on you, found that you have been awarded a few times, including one of those woman disruptor. It sounds negative, but it's a very positive word in your area of profession. So
Yeah.
tell us something about your recognitions and awards, please.
Um, I've got a bunch of them. One is a 40 under 40 in marketing. One is a 40 under 40 in communications and PR. Uh, I think this was 1 year. What you're talking about is what I'd got the women disruptor in. Um, yeah, I think it was in 2022, if I'm not wrong. So there's a bunch of more that which were awarded for particular campaigns that I had run over the course of years. But I think most of these awards are things that there are certain level of achievements that, I mean, I may have thought of them as my day-to-day job, but they were something that I'd perhaps done a little differently, especially uh, in their recognition spree. And also it also depends on, so for example, I think when I got the 40 under 40 PR comms, it was when I was working with the Hero Group, and we had launched an EdTech vertical for them. And I think I remember sitting in office and discussing our PR strategy or day one launch. We had not announced what the name of the company was, nothing at all. And day one was supposed to be this massive launch, and you were supposed to get, and everyone was sitting on the toes saying, okay, it was an off day the day before. And I think it was a government holiday. So we worried that no journalist would actually publish on the day off. And we'd gone all out with our media strategy. And I remember sitting in office and Mr. Munjal telling me after some point saying, Arushi, stop sending me so many links. We had hit about 300 plus media coverage in, I think, half a day. There were more incoming. So I think it was just how strategically we had narrated the stories to different publications, whether it was an ET, whether it was a Forbes, whether it was NHT, which linked to their audience. And even though the day earlier was enough, people had filed it early morning and we got the narrative out. So again, storytelling was a very powerful tool, and that was something that was a part of my PR and comms award. Marketing has been an ongoing thing. Again, it was a very data driven, what we've achieved using data, and had backed it with data and results. And I think that was uh, another award. The Women Disruptor is something that people notice you over years and years, and they send you an inbox saying, "Hey, we've seen your activity over the years, and I think this is what we would deserve." And very surprising, very shocking, but really thankful and grateful for such things coming into my life.
Another thing I'm tempted to ask you, you mentioned about artificial intelligence, that it is a buzz term these days everywhere. People are
Yes.
talking about artificial intelligence. So, what is the significant role artificial intelligence is going to play in business and particularly in MARCOM, marketing communication?
I think it's already there. A lot of people are using AI for automating things that take a lot of human bandwidth, but can be done in background. So the idea for AI, I feel, and what people should think of it is as an aid and not as something that is going to replace jobs. At least in most fields that I see, if you look at things, at least in the healthcare space that I'm working in, we've built a lot of AI automation tools and AI tools that really help take the work of healthcare, people in different points of care, which is possibly potentially things like documentation, which takes a lot of time. When you visit a doctor and you have a conversation with the doctor, a lot of time. After that, the note taking process is too long. So if we can just automate it in the background, it just saves 20 minutes to 40 minutes a day per doctor per patient, which means he can see more patients and he can spend more time doing the job that he took the degree to do um, rather than spending the time doing administrative workload. The same for care coordinators. How do you automate phone calls to for you to get an appointment easily? How, I mean, all the things are documented in your health records. Can someone just automatically automate the phone call to you saying, "Hey, you have to visit a hospital, you have to visit the doctor"? Can they automate your visits? So these things have already been done. They're technically not replacing jobs, but they're really aiding so that the person has more time on their hand to speak to more people, to care better. Um, in the comms field, what I feel is, uh, I think in the world where everybody's talking about AI and automation, what would really change is the human narrative will be the real differentiator. And so I don't think we should forget that, because if everything starts being produced by AI, which it already is, if I see 100 LinkedIn posts a day, I think 99% of them are just done by AI. Um, the one that will strike out is the one that has the human, that has the emotions in it, because AI still cannot uh, have the same emotions as a human can. So I think in the communications vertical, that's really essential, and that'll be the real differentiator. And I think brands who use that carefully will win in the coming years.
Yes, as a user of customer services, I also noticed that these chatbots,
Yeah.
they can only help you half-heartedly, because sometimes they say, I'm not trained to answer this question. Sometimes they say, I don't understand your accent. And so one thinks that the solution lies somewhere in the middle, like as always. There is
Yeah.
always the best path is the middle path. At least the old timers like me believe it. But yes, it is going to be all pervasive. The entrenchment of the artificial intelligence through our lives already it is happening. So, but yes, human intelligence must guide that and must have a plan B as well for
Yes.
digitally challenged people. And in examples like I gave you, um, when they don't understand, when they are not trained to look at some critical areas. तो आरुषि, आप लोगों को क्या एडवाइस देना चाहेंगी आपकी उम्र के और पर्टिकुलरली द यंगस्टर्स एंड एडोलेसेंट्स? Feel free to answer either in English or Hindi.
I think it's first thing I would say is don't, and I think it's a problem that and I don't want to call it a problem. It's a thing that I notice in the younger generation of people that have joined my teams recently, and I keep telling them don't chase titles, chase competence, because titles will automatically follow competence, and people notice that. So don't do that. Uh, the other thing I would say is it's very essential to build skills that compound. Again, this also comes with the age of AI that we are in. The skills that compound are winning skills. So be it communication, be it critical thinking, be it emotional intelligence, be it relationship building. Those are skills that will always compound. That those skills are irreplaceable. So build that. And the last thing I would say is don't aim to be famous, aim to be valuable in a company, because valuable people are not replaced. Famous can be replaced at ease. Today you're famous, tomorrow someone else will be famous.
Yes, I think that is equally applicable for people in public life and in their social life also, for the individuals, that your value will drive people to remember you or not,
Yes.
or to respect you or not. When you are sitting on your chair in the midst of power corridor, then you can be anybody, but once you are getting out of that place as a normal person, what is your reputation? That matters. That's very well said. Um, one last comment from Gospodin Krishna is saying, I mean, taking a cue from your hobbies, he's saying storytelling indeed is a very powerful tool. Yes, it is, Krishna. So, Arushi, now we are close to our timeline, the deadline on time. Um, I have just off the cuff, as always, my reflex questions. I don't give you the time to think. So, in reflex only, you have to answer in one word, two words, or I mean, yeah, whatever way you want. Not it is not descriptive, more like objective questions. The
Sure.
first one is, what is a better strategy? B2B, B2C, or D2C?
Oh, strategy. I think if you to think strategically, then it would be B2B.
Okay. Um, what is the core? Branding or marketing?
Branding.
What is the choice between USP or the brand strategy?
Uh, I think USP is an important part of brand strategy.
What are better business practices? Where do you find better business practices? In the US or in the global south?
It's interesting because most of the global south people are sitting in the US building brands in the US.
Okay. And finally, your thought on communication or loyal customers?
again, loyal customers follow if you're a great communicator and if you have a great communication strategy. It's all connected.
Okay. So with that, we are done with 30 minutes. Arushi, thank you very much for sparing your time, getting up early in the morning and talking to us. You can go and relax and go back to your sleep. It's Sunday for you. Enjoy your sleep. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us. वन लास्ट कमेंट, हिंदी में एक कमेंट आया है, इसको पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी है। गीता जोशी जी रानीखेत से कह रही हैं, बहुत सुंदर और ज्ञानवर्धक जानकारी, दोनों को सादर प्रणाम। धन्यवाद बहन जी,
Thank
आपको भी
you.
प्रणाम। थैंक यू, वी आर ऑफ नाउ।
Okay.